According to this article, the Bureau did not even contact mosque leaders for help in identifying the Boston bombers' images after those images were captured on closed-circuit TV cameras and cell phones. The FBI director attempted to correct me. He said, "You've said facts that aren't true." In fact, he said, "Your facts are not altogether," and I understood him to say not true. And so I demanded he point out specifically what facts were wrong. And he said, "We went to the mosque prior to Boston." He said, "We went to the mosque prior to Boston happening. We were in that mosque talking to imams several months beforehand." And I couldn't, during the questioning, hear what he said at the end, but what he said at the end, it was part of our outreach efforts. If I'd heard that, I would have known and could have followed up and said, "Wait a minute, that was part of your outreach effort to a Muslim mosque. It was not to follow up on the Tsarnaevs." And then I was, knowing that he had not properly followed up, knowing the FBI did not properly follow up with the mosque, I then asked about the mosque that was started, there are a couple of them, started by the Islamic Society of Boston. And were you aware that a founder was al-Moody? Because our director knows who al-Moody is. The FBI arrested him in 2003 or 4 at Dulles Airport, as they could have done al-Awlaki, who was killed by a drone bomb as ordered by our president that caused a lot of folks on both sides of the aisle to say, "Wait a minute, is that a good idea to kill American citizens without a trial?" And why is he an American citizen? Well, he's an American citizen because we have this policy that says, and a misinterpretation I would submit of the 14th Amendment, that if someone comes in here on a visa and has a baby, then they're American citizens. So al-Awlaki's family was free to come in on a visa for college and have al-Awlaki and then take him back to Yemen and radicalize him so that he hated America. And then he could come back here and, as he did, lead prayers here on Capitol Hill with congressional Muslim staffers and also have contact with people in the administration. But I guess we won't ever know who all he had contact with because they blew him up while he was in Yemen. But he was free to come and go to radicalize people in America because he was an American citizen, because his father and mother got a visa to come in here where he was born. al-Moody was free to come and go here in the United States, and that was until he was arrested at Dulles Airport and was tried and convicted and is doing over 20 years in federal prison for supporting terrorism. And our FBI director said at the hearing, he kind of had his head down and said it quietly, but no, he was not even aware that al-Moody in prison for supporting terrorism was one of the founders. In fact, he is the one listed on the Articles of an Organization from Massachusetts for the Islamic Society of Boston that started this. He didn't even know that. Until we get past this political correctness so that we can see our enemy, see those who want to destroy our way of life and subjugate our Constitution to their ideas, then we are not protected. And we've got to get over that. And how about that? I mean, when Director Mueller had testified before, he had said, "Oh, yeah, we have these great outreach programs to the Muslims." So apparently this is part of this. I asked, how is the outreach program going? Groups like, I think I said, Christians and Catholics, of course, same, Jewish, Buddhists, I forget who all I named. But anyway, it was interesting. There's no such outreach group specifically for them, but there is a specific outreach group that didn't want to offend people who are radicalizing and being radicalized. So it is pretty clear we need to protect our borders from people who want to come in to destroy us, all avenues of entry. We need to deport those who overstay their visas. We need to reform our immigration service and our immigration process so that it is more effective, more efficient, and gives people proper answers more quickly. We must stop allowing members of terrorist groups to consult with this president or his administration. We must stop discarding our allies who have fought with us and for us and throwing them under figurative buses. We've got to stop rewarding our enemies so that when they say they want to destroy us, that we're our enemy, we don't send them $1.3 billion and tanks and jet planes. And then also, we have got to educate our federal protection agencies on whom the enemy truly is. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman yields back. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3, 2013, the Chair recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Holding, for 30 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, in a time when many Americans are out of work and struggling to make ends meet, the last thing that they want to see is tens of millions of their taxpayer dollars being spent to send the President on a trip to Africa. Mr. Speaker, while every President deserves appropriate protective detail, the security provisions for President Obama's upcoming trip are excessive. Hundreds of Secret Service agents, over 50 vehicles, fighter jets, and a Navy aircraft carrier with a fully staffed medical trauma center will cost the government tens of millions of dollars. Mr. Speaker, our country is over $16 trillion in debt, and the government agencies have made cutbacks as a result of the sequester. It is no secret that we need to rein in government spending, and the Obama administration has regularly and repeatedly shown a lack of judgment for when and where to make cuts. For example, why should pilots' hours, Air Force pilots' hours, be cut back at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base so that the President can now have his most expensive trip since taking office? Mr. Speaker, the fact is that the President's upcoming trip to Africa is going to be for less than 1 week, and that trip costs 1,350 times more than a week of White House tours. So for the cost of this trip to Africa, you could have 1,350 weeks of White House tours, which the White House has canceled indefinitely due to budget restraints. Mr. Speaker, the numbers don't lie. So either the administration is bad at math, or they simply don't see a problem with their excessive spending. The American people have had enough of the frivolous and careless spending, and they deserve real, appropriate cuts from this excessive administration. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until noon on Monday next for a morning hour debate.
The U.S.